Am I the a-hole for potentially being the reason my father and his wife can't adopt or foster? So my father and his wife are unable to have children together. He has me, 16 male, from his marriage to my mom, which ended because he cheated on her with his now wife. The affair was found out when I was 7, and my mom left him straight after. I split time with both of them unfortunately, which meant I was around my father and his wife a lot. And she tried to be a second mom to me, which I think was horrible after she knowingly slept with a married man. She was dating his best friend at a time too. My mom died when I was 12. Then I had to live with my father and his wife and had no escape from them. They tried to make me forgive them or let go of what happened, and they did a bunch of therapy with me. But I always told him I would stop speaking to him as soon as I turned 18. They found out 3 years ago that they could not have kids together, and almost 2 years ago started the process to adopt a baby from foster care. During the process, I was interviewed. This was in February of this year. I was asked questions about my relationship with my parents, which I corrected and told them she was not my parent and he was only because of blood. They asked how I would feel about a sibling, and I told them I would have nothing to do with one, and was planning to move and never speak to my father again once I turned 18. The social worker looked kinda alarmed by that. She asked me about my father's family, and I said they disowned him after he cheated, and so did all of his friends. Soon after the interviews were done, they were rejected and told they could not provide a suitable environment for a child. My father's wife fell apart. I heard her say mom must have been cursing her from beyond the grave. She's really religious and does believe people can send good or bad luck from beyond the grave. She's still not over the news, and a few weeks ago my father was telling me I should take pity on her and at least be friendly to her. I asked why to do that, and he said her dream of motherhood is over. I told him I didn't care. He asked me if I had something to do with that. I shrugged. He then went off on me saying it was cruel to punish them this long. I said they could have provided a child with so much love, and it was wrong to say things that got in the way of that. She sobbed for a week when I told her. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. You were asked questions and you answered them honestly. As long as there were no lies, then you did nothing wrong. It amazes me the amount of people that break a home, move in or marry an affair partner and then are all shocked Pikachu face that their kids aren't happy about it and resent the parent for it. Also, sorry about your mother. No lies. I told the truth. It only would have been a lie if I had pretended I would be a brother to a kid they adopted and pretending we had a good or even okay relationship. Also, your interview, unless you told them they were abusive and didn't feed you, had little bearing on them being rejected. I basically said the same about my parents. I was 25 at a time, and they were still able to adopt. The lady pretty much told me, we'll look at a current home environment, and as long as you were fed, clothed, and had a room with a bed, we'll move forward with adoption. And added, one upset child doesn't change our minds. As long as the house is clean, finances stable, there are no prior convictions for violence or neglect, animal handling, hoarding, etc., most adoptions go through. In the US at least, unsure of other countries. There were probably some red flags and other aspects that you are unaware of. I mean, they really didn't have many people to give positive feedback on them. I know they had to compile that list, and my father had nobody. His whole family have disowned him, and his friends were all gone once they realized what he would do. I think his wife has a sister, and that's about it. I know that might not have a huge bearing, but when you don't have any support, and one person who lives with them is waiting to get away, I imagine it could have some weight. But I really don't know. I remember her expression when we were talking, and how alarmed she looked at me. Maybe they lied. That could be possible. It is honestly almost certainly something else. One upset kid is not going to sway the adoption, especially a teen, unless you told them that they were abusive. They need adoptive parents, so they will heavily overlook an angsty teenager in the house. Adoption agencies look at a lot of things, and it has to be a heck of a red flag to stop one and deny a suitable couple. Okay, that's interesting. I thought all that might have been factored in, not just me but the lack of support. Thanks for the insight. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my family that they never cared about my birthday before? Why should it matter now? My 18 female's parents divorced when I was about 6. It was 50-50 custody split, with my mom wasting no time to get remarried to my stepdad. My stepdad had children already. Alex, 15 male, Violet, 16 female, and Mabel, 17 female. I was relentlessly bullied by them for various things I couldn't control. Having a speech impediment, having less expensive clothes, only being able to see my dad on weekends, etc. My mom and stepdad didn't do anything to stop it, and essentially told me kids will be kids, then kept it pushing. My mom would lightly scold Violet and Mabel if they hurt me while playing, but wouldn't do anything more. I had to watch as they got far more expensive gifts for birthdays and Christmas, and actually what they wanted from their wish list, whilst I got the bare minimum of necessities and would only get something I actually wanted from my dad. Though he could only go far due to making 2 times less than what my stepdad makes. I appreciated it nonetheless. I didn't even get to properly enjoy my cake, or rather cupcakes, that my mom made to cut down in cost because my siblings ate it before I could get seconds. I was never allowed a party because my friends were too messy and loud. So around age 10, I pretty much stopped expecting them to put effort into my birthday and just kinda let it pass by whenever I was with them. Yesterday was my 18th birthday, and I decided to spend it with my friend's boyfriend and dad. I was pretty much out all day and came back at around nearly 10 p.m. My mom was waiting for me with my stepdad and pretty much blew up on me for not spending the day with them. Apparently, they prepared a small celebration for me that got wasted because I wasn't there. They were both going off on me for being inconsiderate and ungrateful, and in the middle of their little rant, I had snapped that they never freaking cared about my birthday all these years. Why should this one matter now? They were in shock, and that gave me an opportunity to go to my room and sleep. I woke up to texts from my grandparents and aunt saying that I was disrespectful for saying that, and ungrateful for anything my mom and stepdad did for me. Consider texting them back with everything you've said here. Do this in a factual way. Start with the fact that you haven't had a birthday party and have had minimal effort from them. Point out that if they wanted to do something with you, they should have told you, should have made arrangements. Ask them if they were aware of what your step-family did all through the years. It's unkind of your mother to allow the continual bullying to take place, and it's clear that your stepdad was okay with treating you like a second-class citizen all these years, and your mother let this happen, not the a-hole. I guarantee that the relatives haven't been given a factual version of what happened or has been happening. If they had been and are still going after OP, then they're complicit, and should only be sent an accounting of the truth if it helps OP. Then again, look at the back of communication for all of this. Did the unparents not text OP when she never came by? Even if this was meant to be a surprise party, why didn't they ensure that OP would be at their house at a specific time or involve OP's friends? Did they just assume that OP has no life for other people in it since they can't be asked to pay attention? I'm glad that OP does have a caring dad and good friends. Going forward, OP knows exactly who's in her corner and who will use her own birthday as an excuse to make her feel small yet again. Odds are unfortunately good that the grandparents and the aunts are equally culpable. They could have joined in on celebrating OP's birthday too, especially milestone ones like the 18th, and yet curiously they didn't. I suspect they're the maternal side of the family as well. Not the a-hole. If your stepdad and mother did not take an effort to do anything celebratory the previous few years prior to your 18th, you do not genuinely have any reason to be there for your 18th. Your expectations were low due to the standards set by them. You were not to blame. You took the effort to spend time with people who cared for you. Your stepdad and mother have only themselves to blame. Maybe your words had an effect on your mother of how impactful these things were to you, but too little too late. Were your relatives aware of the bias? If they were, it's a shame that they are blaming you now. Hope your mother realizes how bad she messed up. Call me the pessimist from a really messed up family, but I'd bet that mom and stepdad didn't even have a little party put together at all. They're just saying they had to try to guilt OP and play the victim. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not allowing my neighbor's kids to play in my backyard after an incident? I, 35 male, have a spacious, well-maintained backyard that my family and I enjoy. Our neighbors, Mark, 37 male, and Jane, 34 female, have 3 children, and they used to be friendly with my family. However, our relationship took a hit due to an incident. One day, their kids were playing in our yard without permission. They accidentally broke a cherished garden gnome, and my flower bed was trampled. I politely discussed the issue with Mark and Jane, explaining that while we don't mind their kids playing in our yard occasionally, they should ask for permission and be careful. Instead of apologizing, Mark and Jane became defensive, saying kids will be kids and they shouldn't have to ask for permission every time. They even insinuated that I was being overly uptight about my garden gnome. Following that, I decided to set boundaries and informed them that their kids were no longer allowed in our backyard. They were visibly upset and argued that I was being unreasonable, punishing their kids for an accident. Now they're telling our mutual friends and other neighbors about the situation, painting me as the bad guy. Some of our friends think I'm being too harsh, while others agree with my decision. So am I the a-hole for not allowing my neighbor's kids to play in my backyard after the incident with the garden gnome? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. Mark and Jade not only didn't say sorry or even replace the cherished garden gnome, but became defensive about their children's bad behavior. Nah, no more playing in the garden, since they don't respect it. OP, you may want to put up a no trespassing with cameras to cover yourself, just in case. They can play in the other neighbors' yards. Especially those that are saying OP is wrong. Not the a-hole OP. Punishing their kids for an accident. This is your glimpse into the kinds of mindsets you're dealing with here. You were prepared to overlook the incident when the damage happened. All you wanted was to be asked permission and for the kids to be careful. Instead, you got a dose of entitlement from the parents about kids will be kids. They don't need permissions. And to insinuate that OP is the one who is the problem for being too uptight. I would have told the parents that I'm actually punishing the kids for their parents' attitudes. Parents like them suck, who won't take responsibility. Consider building a fence, as attitudes like this are entrenched, and you'll just have more incidents to deal with. Sorry for your crappy neighbors, not the a-hole. Depending on the size of the fence, could be north of $20,000. My dog poop fence was $13,000. Put up a sign and cameras for $100. Keep the recordings. You could also install a remote-controlled horn device. Old neighbor did that to my dogs. If they ever barked, he would lay on a horn for 30 seconds. Unfortunately, he was a prick and put it on a property line facing my house. He was an a-hole, but it made me scared to go outside. Not the a-hole. They think it's no big deal until one of the kids hurts themselves, and then OP is liable, and they'll demand compensation. OP, put up signs and cameras. Your property is your property. They don't have rights to it. Also, how hard is it to text you, can the kids use the backyard? Also, please get pictures of the damage. And let anyone who asks why their little terrors aren't allowed back there without supervision. All of this, always think of liability. If the children aren't related to me, I never let them come on the property. Last story. Am I the a-hole for replacing any property of mine that my wife lends out or gives away from our travel savings? I love my wife very much, and we are from two different cultures. In hers, if a person needs something that you have, you give it to them. In mine, if you need something, you get a job, get paid, and buy what you need. Well, I earn most of our income. My wife runs a day home, takes care of our kids and the house. We take our money and pay our bills, put some away for emergencies, our retirement, kids' education, etc. We also keep an account for traveling to visit her family or paying for her mom and dad to visit us. My wife has given away a bunch of my stuff because her family needed it. She gave my trekking backpack to one of her cousins because he needed a backpack. She could have bought him a $30 Costco backpack instead of giving away my $400 backpack, which it promptly got stolen. The last straw was my laptop. I was away for the weekend at a friend's wedding that she did not want to attend. Her auntie was visiting and said that my wife's brother needed a computer for schoolwork. Since all I ever did was play games on it, she gave it to her brother for university. I tried to get it back, but she said it would be rude. I explained that the only reason all she saw me do with it was play games was because I was home. When I leave in the morning and take it with me, it is to go earn money doing a job I'm paid for. She said I didn't have to talk to her like she's dumb, but she refused to ask for it back. So I replaced it with money from the travel fund, which means that we will not be seeing her parents this Christmas. She is mad, said that I took money that belonged to both of us to buy myself something. I asked her where the money should come from. Should I take it out of our retirement? Our kids' education? Does she want to opt off replacing the furnace with winter almost here? I said I could cancel that if she wanted. She said that I could have just put it on a credit card. I asked her to explain where the money to pay the credit card would come from. She thinks I'm treating her like an idiot. I think she needs to stop giving my things away. Not the a-hole. It's easy to be generous when you are giving away stuff that isn't yours. But as soon as it affects her, suddenly it's a big deal? I would be spitting blood if someone gave away my computer. Aside from the value and inconvenience, what about the lost data, files, photos? The stored financial data, stored passwords? I'd have driven around there and demanded it back. I keep everything backed up to my home computer, and I remotely wiped my laptop. I just would have preferred for her not to give my stuff away. I was mad when she gave away my backpack. Start giving away some of her stuff then. She won't get it until something she loves or uses is given away, since it's rude to ask for it back. Selling some of her stuff might be the way if she really wants the budget to go on a holiday trip, but we all know she won't accept that as a solution. I'm going to sell your ex on Marketplace. Just uploading the ad. What do you think I should take for it? Maybe that threat can get her to start thinking about how he feels. And if it doesn't, let the sales begin. She'll see that as radically different, because when she gives away stuff, it stays in the family. Yeah, another issue with it is, it stays in her family. Not the a-hole. Your wife is being ridiculous. Hopefully not being able to see her parents will be the wake-up call she needs. By the way, you need a firm, hard boundary. She is to never give away anything of yours without your explicit permission. Let her use you as the heavy if necessary, but she cannot give your stuff away without your permission. What if your laptop contained important work information that had no other backup? Does she want you to be fired? Or worse, their personal financial documents? Or worst, a save game.